back to the channel. Today we're going to unravel some incredibly complex events in Genoa. Rumors are circulating around the Newman family, but what's the truth? In this video, I'll summarize the plot points that will be revealed in the next episode. Stay tuned to see what happens. Welcome back to our channel, your premier source for everything happening in Genoa City. Today is a fantastic day to dive deep into the twisted psychological drama unfolding on The Young and the Restless. Grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let us unpack the explosive secrets, dark desires, and shocking betrayals coming your way. The legacy of grief is a heavy burden, and Traci Abbott is known as the heart and soul of the Abbott family, the eternal peacemaker who has weathered storms that would break a lesser woman. But beneath that warm, nurturing exterior lies a reservoir of profound, unhealed trauma. Recent developments reveal a deeply emotional and dark moment for Traci as she reflects on the tragic, senseless loss of her beloved daughter, Colleen Abbott. Longtime viewers will vividly recall the harrowing events that led to Colleen's untimely death, a tragedy directly linked to the chaotic and dangerous actions of Patty Williams. The sheer terror of Colleen fleeing from a deranged Patty is a nightmare permanently etched into Traci's soul. For years, Traci has carried this heavy burden with grace, but the recent resurgence of Patty Williams in Genoa City has violently ripped the scabs off those old wounds. Traci is no longer just the grieving mother. She is a woman grappling with a sudden, overwhelming surge of dark, vengeful desires that threaten to consume her entirely. In a beautifully written, heart-wrenching moment, Traci opens up to her nephew, Kyle Abbott, about the violent thoughts invading her mind. She confesses a deeply buried secret. She harbors intense, vivid fantasies of wrapping her hands around Patty Williams's neck and strangling the life out of her for what she did to Colleen. For a woman whose entire identity is built on compassion and forgiveness, admitting to such a visceral, murderous urge is completely earth-shattering. Traci is terrified by her own mind. She questions her own morality, wondering aloud to Kyle if her inability to ever actually carry out such a violent act makes her a coward. Does her restraint stem from weakness, or is it something else entirely? This internal conflict highlights the absolute brilliance of Traci's character development. She is being pushed to her absolute psychological limits, forced to confront the darkest corners of her own humanity as the monster who destroyed her family continues to roam free. Kyle Abbott, who is currently enduring his own living nightmare with the mysterious disappearance of his mother, Diane Jenkins, steps up as a pillar of strength for his aunt. Kyle listens to Traci's agonizing confession, not with judgment, but with profound empathy and understanding. He fiercely validates Traci's feelings, assuring her that having dark thoughts does not make her a coward. It makes her profoundly human. Kyle points out the critical, defining difference between Traci and a psychopath like Patty Williams. Patty acts on her deranged impulses without a shred of remorse or hesitation, leaving a trail of destruction in her wake. Traci, on the other hand, possesses a conscience, a moral compass that prevents her from crossing that fatal line. Kyle's reassurance is a beautiful testament to the enduring bond within the Abbott family, reminding Traci that her restraint is her greatest strength, and that sinking to Patty's level would only destroy the beautiful legacy of love and light that Colleen left behind. Meanwhile, miles away from the warmth of the Abbott mansion, a chilling, psychological game of cat and mouse is unfolding at the secluded, heavily fortified home of Dr. Lawrence Markham. The atmosphere in this house is thick with dread, secrets, and sinister intentions. Patty Williams, the very woman who haunts Traci's nightmares, is currently pacing through Markham's residence, her mind a chaotic whirlwind of delusions and dangerous obsessions. Patty casually discusses the intrusive thoughts that constantly invade her own mind, almost bragging about her instability. In a deeply unsettling moment, she playfully teases Dr. Markham, hinting that she is a severe danger to others and fully capable of snapping at any given moment. Patty is treating her severe psychiatric issues as if they are a quirky personality trait, completely detached from the reality of the pain she inflicts on everyone around her. Dr. Markham, however, is not amused in the slightest. He is a man of clinical precision, a sadistic manipulator who prefers to be the one pulling the strings, not humoring the erratic ramblings of a loose cannon like Patty. Markham bluntly refuses to play the role of the sympathetic psychologist for her. Their conversation quickly devolves into a heated, tense argument over their grand, convoluted plan. The alliance between Patty and Markham has always been a fragile marriage of convenience, built on mutual malice rather than genuine trust. Markham is a calculating predator, while Patty is a chaotic force of nature. As they clash over the logistics of their scheme, the cracks in their partnership become glaringly obvious. Markham is frustrated by Patty's lack of focus, while Patty is irritated by Markham's cold, dismissive demeanor. During their bitter exchange, Dr. Markham decides to hit Patty where it hurts the most. He brutally points out a reality that Patty has been desperately trying to ignore. The bond between Jack Abbott and Diane Jenkins is far stronger, deeper, and more resilient than either of them initially anticipated. Despite all of Patty's chaotic interference, her kidnapping plots, and her desperate attempts to seduce Jack, she has failed to break the fundamental connection between him and Diane. Markham twists the knife further by contrasting Patty's spectacular failure with his own supposed success. He smugly claims that he is making excellent progress with his new patient, a twisted reference to the captive Diane Jenkins. Markham boasts about his psychological dominance over Diane, highlighting how he is successfully breaking her down, while Patty is making absolutely zero progress in her delusional quest to win back Jack Abbott's heart. Patty's reaction to Markham's taunts is nothing short of terrifying. Her eyes flash with that familiar, unhinged madness that has terrorized Genoa City for decades. She vehemently rejects Markham's assessment, arguing with absolute, terrifying certainty that her romantic reunion with Jack Abbott is not just a possibility, but an inevitable destiny. Patty declares that she will fiercely defend her twisted love story to the bitter end, refusing to accept any outcome where she and Jack are not together. But that's not all. Patty vows that if she does not get exactly what she wants, she will drag absolutely everyone down to hell with her. This is not an empty threat. When Patty Williams promises destruction, she delivers. She is willing to scorch the earth, destroy the Abbott family, and even turn on her own allies to satisfy her obsessive desires. Dr. Markham, recognizing the escalating danger of Patty's erratic behavior, decides to assert his dominance by issuing a severe clinical threat of his own. He reminds Patty that her current freedom is entirely dependent on his professional assessment of her mental state. Markham chillingly hints that since her claims of psychiatric recovery are vastly exaggerated, he could easily change his medical recommendation with a single phone call and have her permanently recommitted. Patty bristles at the threat, her hatred for confinement bubbling to the surface. She snaps that she despises being threatened, but Markham coldly replies that he doesn't like it either. He makes it crystal clear that he expects her to stick to the strict parameters of their deal, or he will not hesitate to lock her away in a psychiatric ward forever. The palpable tension between the two villains is abruptly shattered by the sound of footsteps. Diane Jenkins, currently playing the role of the compliant, broken captive, is emerging from the basement gymnasium. Panic flashes across Markham's face. He knows that if Diane sees Patty, the entire illusion of his clinical, isolated treatment will instantly shatter, and Diane will realize the true, malicious scope of her captivity. Moving with frantic urgency, Markham practically shoves Patty out the door, desperate to conceal his unholy alliance. It is a moment of high-stakes suspense, a near miss that forces Patty to scurry away into the shadows while Markham hurriedly composes himself, smoothing his features back into the calm, authoritative mask of the benevolent therapist just as Diane steps into the room. Diane, whose survival instincts have been honed by years of navigating the treacherous waters of Genoa City, immediately senses that something is amiss. She catches the tail end of the commotion and sharply asks Dr. Markham, who he was just talking to, Markham, a seasoned liar, barely misses a beat. He smoothly invents a cover story, claiming that he was simply on the phone ordering sedatives for her. It is a chilling lie, one that subtly reinforces his absolute control over her physical and mental state. Diane accepts the explanation on the surface, but her mind is working overtime. She knows she is trapped in a gilded cage with a monster, and she realizes that brute force will not secure her freedom. She must use her greatest weapon, her unparalleled ability to manipulate and deceive. In a masterclass of psychological manipulation, Diane shifts her strategy. She looks at Markham with wide, vulnerable eyes and makes a stunning declaration. She needs to completely forget about Jack Abbott. She plays the role of the shattered woman, claiming that Jack's supposed rejection has broken her spirit and that she must sever all emotional ties to her past life. Diane takes a massive, calculated risk by pretending to develop deep romantic feelings for her captor. She softly hints that her intense therapy sessions have sparked an inappropriate yet undeniable attraction to him. Dr. Markham, whose ego is as massive as his sadism, completely falls for the ruse. His narcissistic belief in his own irresistible dominance blinds him to Diane's true intentions, and he admits that her developing feelings for him might actually be a good thing for her recovery. Capitalizing on his inflated ego, Diane pushes her advantage further. She asks Dr. Markham if they could perhaps share a private, intimate dinner together that evening, offering to cook the meal herself. Markham, thoroughly enchanted by the idea of his beautiful, formerly defiant captive willingly playing the role of his devoted companion, eagerly agrees, stating he would love that. What Markham fails to realize is that Diane is not surrendering. She is setting a brilliant trap. By gaining access to the kitchen, the utensils, and his undivided, relaxed attention, Diane is meticulously orchestrating an opportunity. She is lulling the predator into a false sense of security, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. It is a deadly game of chess, and Diane Jenkins is proving she is a grandmaster of survival. As Tuesday's highly anticipated episode unfolds, the narrative shifts back to the grandeur of the Abbott mansion, where Patty Williams has somehow managed to infiltrate the premises. The visual of Patty standing in the heart of the Abbott family home is profoundly disturbing. She spots a beautifully framed photograph of Jack and Diane, a symbol of their enduring love and shared history. Patty's reaction is visceral. She glares at the photograph with an intensity that could melt glass, her face contorted into a mask of pure, unadulterated hatred. In her deeply fractured mind, Diane is nothing but a temporary, irritating obstacle, a ghost of a past that Patty is determined to erase completely from existence. Patty insists, with chilling conviction, that Jack Abbott is her man now. She has completely rewritten reality to fit her obsessive narrative, convinced that Jack's heart belongs solely to her. What's even scarier is the scope of her terrifying ambition. Patty's delusions do not stop at simply claiming Jack's love. She wants his entire life. She looks around the opulent Abbott mansion, taking in the wealth and the legacy, and she makes a sinister vow. Patty declares that she will fiercely fight to make the Abbott mansion her own. She envisions herself as the rightful lady of the house, preparing to wage a scorched earth war against anyone who dares to stand between her and her twisted vision of domestic bliss. Nobody expected that Patty's ultimate endgame would involve a hostile takeover of the Abbott legacy itself, or that Traci would be battling her own murderous urges. The psychological depth being explored here is absolutely breathtaking, pushing these legacy characters to their absolute breaking points. Will Traci's dark thoughts manifest into action to protect her family? Will Diane's dangerous dinner date provide her with the key to freedom, or will Markham see through her brilliant facade? Here is our controversial prediction to get the conversation started. We predict that Diane's dinner trap will backfire forcing a captive Diane and a deranged Patty into a face-to-face life or death showdown inside Markham's house, leading to an accidental fire that will leave one of these iconic women fighting for their life in the ashes. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.